And welcome to a Greater You show here on IntellectualRadio.com and iHeartStation. And I'm your host, Dr. Anthony L. Gant, here to do another show on the station that feeds your brain. And I'm going to do my part, help feed your brain for this episode of our show. Again, we are iHeartStation. Anywhere you hear your podcast, you can find us anywhere on Spreaker, and iHeart, obviously. And if you are looking at this on YouTube, you can look at it as YouTube. IntellectualRadio.com on YouTube. And if you are on YouTube, and if you go to YouTube anytime, if you're not there now, you can hit the subscribe button and also hit the bell, and you'll be notified of all the shows that we have. We have shows going on Sunday through Saturday mornings, afternoons, and evenings. A lot of great hosts, a lot of great shows. Have political shows, entertainment shows, comedy shows, religious shows, spiritual shows, relationship shows, financial shows, health shows. So we got a lot of good shows here, a lot of great hosts as well that you may want to actually follow and keep up with, doing a lot of great things. So want to actually do that as well. Before I get started in the show, I'm going to promote someone. And if you'd like to get promoted on any of the shows that I have, you can contact me at fullerpurposemedia@gmail.com. And we can, I send you my information. We can talk about it and see the possibility of promoting your business on the show. If you're about your product or service is about helping people, then you're 50% there with me. So that's the main point. I have to help people do something better with their life. So if you have some type of product or service that can do that, then let's talk. So I'm promoting Mr. Emmett Farmer this evening. Are you 65 and older or know someone who is in need of Medicare assistance? Mr. Emmett Farmer is a licensed life and health insurance producer and an independent insurance broker. He can be reached at 773-908-9425 or eFarmer2, that's the number 2, eFarmer2 at Ameritech.net. Mr. Emmett Farmer specializes in Medicare plans for seniors 65 and older. Also, if you are disabled and have Medicare, he can help you as well. He is licensed in the states of Illinois, Texas, Kentucky, and Indiana, and also in the process of being licensed in other states in the country as well. If you are 65 and older, or if you will become 65 within the next 6 to 12 months, contact Mr. Emmett Farmer to learn more about your available options. Again, for more information, contact Mr. Emmett Farmer at 773-908-9425. That's 773-908-9425. Or eFarmer2, EFARMER, the number 2, at Ameritech.net. You'll also get a free consultation by mentioning that you heard about Mr. Emmett Farmer and his business here on the Greater You Show, here on IntellectualRadio.com and iHeartStation with your host, Dr. Anthony L. Gant, as well. So get in contact with him, and you might be able to help out some grandparent or might be a sister or brother that may be near that age, aunt or uncle, might be you yourself, your mom or dad, or whoever it may be. You can help them out. So again, this is the Greater You Show, and this is a self-help show, a self-help book club, a self-help coaching session, a self-help class, all wrapped into one. And if you're new to Intellectual Radio or new to myself and the show is obviously helping you with self-help. And we are in a series now called How to Overcome Failure. And in this series, every series we do based on a book that I've written related to that topic. And the book that I've written is Failure Success, that you might want to pick up. And if you do, you can contact me at fullerpurposemedia@gmail.com. And we can make sure that when you purchase the book, we can get it out and I'll sign a copy as well. So we are in part 4 of the series, and this is the last part of the series that we're doing. And just to do a recap again, if you're new to me, I always try to do a recap of the shows previous so that you can have that information. And anyway, even if you miss a show, not just my show, but any show on IntellectualRadio.com, you can always go back anytime you want because all the shows are recorded. You can go back a month ago, 6 months ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 8 years ago, 10 years ago. So there's shows that we have a lot of shows that you can go back and look at, and you can look at them as often as you want. And so that's the good thing about it as well. So the first session that we talked about in this series, when we started, we came from lesson 1 in the book, and we talked about how what is failure and what is success. And we talked about what success was. And the word success is actually come from the word succeed. And succeed, S-U-C in the Latin means after, and C-E-E-D And the word succeed in the Latin as well means to go. So when you put it together, it's to go after. So obviously, to go after is pursuing something. And when you are pursuing something, you are succeeding. So it's not in what you are pursuing that determines whether or not you're a success or not. It's actually that you are pursuing something. Now we are obviously saying this is something good for you, okay? So because we can't pursue some bad things, but that's not what you and I do. So we're talking about something good. You pursue a business, then you are succeeding. You pursue something in relationship, you're succeeding. You pursue something in with financial or with your health. At the time you're pursuing, you are succeeding at the same time. However, we also discuss how failure and success go together like wet goes with water. You can't get any water and not get wet along with it. So you can't get wet without having a little water with it, right? So it kind of goes together. So you need to actually know that those two things go together like wet and water. So that's what we talked about, came from lesson 1. Session 2, we came pretty much from lesson 3 from the book. And we talked again about how failure is, to a certain degree, is a deceptor. The word failure, also in the Latin, is the same word we get, derivation of the word we get called deceive. And deceive means to fool, right? So a lot of times, a lot of us are afraid of failure. So really what happens is, because failure does exist, it fools people out of the success that they're looking for. So most people don't lose success. They just get fooled out of success because of the fact that failure is part of it. And so those are some things that we talked about. We talked about how failure helps you make adjustments. And making adjustments, failure is not a dead end. Failure is a detour. And a detour does not say something is wrong with you. A detour does not say something's wrong with your car. A detour does not say something's wrong on the road that you have been on for the last year, 5 years, 10 years, 3 months, or whatever. What a detour says is something is wrong with the road ahead of you. However, there's a way to still get to the other side, and that's what a detour does for us. So it shows us, helps us get other ways. And we also talked about how failures, gives us feedback and everything from what we have done. So, failing is not a bad thing. Failing means that you have tried to succeed. You tried to do something. You may have fallen or you fell at something, but that doesn't mean that you weren't standing up, and doesn't mean you weren't walking or running when you fell, right? The same thing with success. You were succeeding when you were moving. Just because you failed in the process does not mean that you're a failure. You and failure are two different things. Fail is an action, right? It's a verb. It's something you did, right? It's not who you are. Those are two separate things. So that's what we talked about in session 2. Session 3, we came from lesson 6 from the book, and we talked about how you want to become legitimate with the success you have, because failure is what stamps you as the success stamp. We also talked about how you have to have a success IQ, and the best way to get success IQs is by meeting failure, because failure will teach you everything you need to know about success if you're willing to learn from the failure experiences that you have that happen. Because we said failure is an event that happens that creates and brings along with it an enormous amount of education in the process, only if you're willing to learn from the failure that you have experienced. So those are some of the things we talked about in those 3 sessions. So again, so we're coming out of lesson 9 from the book today, and we're going to talk about how to bounce back from failure, right? A lot of times we go through things and we meet with failure, get knocked down, put us on our back. And a lot of times we don't get up. But see, the reality, when you think about it, the most natural thing to do when you fall down is to get up. See, you falling down, again, does not mean that you're a bad person because you failed at a business, or you failed at a marriage, or you failed at a relationship, or you failed at a job, or whatever it may be. That does not mean you're a bad person. I know you may feel bad, but just because you feel bad does not mean you are bad, right? Because feeling, that's an emotion, and nothing's wrong with emotions, right? I'm not telling you to feel all happy if you just lost $100,000 in a business that you've been worked on for the last 3 or 4 years. I'm not telling you start smiling if it didn't work out the way you wanted, because failure is really disappointment. But even though you may be disappointment, this means not an appointment. So maybe you missed the appointment at this time. And a lot of times we miss appointments when it comes to the quote unquote success thing. It's because we made some mistakes and some things we have ignored, right? So failure is there to teach us something. The best way to reiterate something I stated in the last session, the best way to get to success is to you got to get out of failure. You can't get out of failure unless you get through failure. You can't get through failure unless you get from failure. And see, you can't get from failure unless you admit that you're in it, right? And so you got to tell yourself the truth about it. So this is one thing that you want to do. You want to be able to bounce back when failure happens to you, because failure will happen because it's part of the success thing. But see, failure, when you, in order to bounce back, that's proof that you have taken a shot to do something. You have tried to do something. And one thing I want to reiterate and really want to encourage you in the process of life is keep trying. Try to do something else. Yeah, okay, you may have messed up for 5 times, but don't let it be 5 times I messed up without trying the 6th time. I know, again, failure tastes bad, man. Ooh, failure tastes bad. But I know if you learn from it, because I just know from my own life, I know if you learn from it, it can bring a lot of good to you if you're willing to learn from it. But here's something else you have to do, right? Not only do you have to learn from failure, you have to utilize what you have learned from failure. See, some of us stop with just learning from what we did. Like, yeah, maybe I shouldn't have put the money over here. Maybe I shouldn't have gotten a relationship with that person. Or maybe I shouldn't have moved to that city or something like that. So we stopped there because maybe we wasn't well prepared to move to that city. Maybe we should have saved a little bit more money first and then moved, right? Because every time you do something, hindsight is always 20/20, right? You can always say, oh, man, I should have did this. I should have did that, right? And some things may seem pretty obvious. But the reason why you see it now or you have experienced it is so that you can try again. Failure gives you another chance to try it again. And the problem a lot of us have, we think failure is the end. We don't realize failure is the opportunity to try again. So you are really, this is a different way of looking at failure, because you got to look at failure differently if you want to succeed at things, because failure is just part of it. If you look at failure negative, it's not going to work, right? Success is not going to be something that you're going to taste very often. But once you realize that it's a chance for you to do it again. So here's the reality. When failure meets you, you are now required to do it again. Try it again. Because now you have more experience, you have more education. In other words, you have more wisdom about a situation. Now, you may not be able to try the exact same thing again, because we're going to make adjustments, right? So let me give an example, right? Let's say, for instance, you went and tried to open up an ice cream shop, right? And you went and tried to open up your ice cream shop, and you thought that you can do an ice cream shop, but when you got there, you realized, 2 years later, it really didn't pay the bills, things, you didn't market it correctly and all that. But you thought opening up an ice cream shop was a good idea, because when you thought of the idea, it was 99 degrees outside, and you thought it was a good idea, right? So you said, I'm opening up this ice cream shop. Well, people may not buy as much ice cream in, middle of January in the northern part of the country, right? But 99 degrees is a little bit more attractive. So you start thinking, oh man, maybe I can't get in business anymore. But then you learn something about the ice cream shop, because you said, well, maybe I really wasn't into ice cream. Maybe I had too many flavors, or maybe I didn't have enough flavors. So now you say, you know what, I want to kind of get into another business that you may like a little bit better. So let's say we're gonna put you into we'll give you a cupcake business now. You're not doing the ice cream business, but you really like making cupcakes. But last time you did ice cream, you had 55 flavors and you didn't promote it well. This time, because of your education and your experience that you got from the ice cream shop, with your cupcake shop, now you said, listen, I'm going to just start with 5 flavors first, and then I'm going to build me a database so I can have more people know my 5 flavors, and then I'll start adding on another flavor every 90 days, right? Well, how did you get that wise? Because the last business that you had, quote unquote, fail, you had too many flavors all at one time. So now you making all these different flavors, and then you end up having all this extra inventory of flavors that people didn't like yet. Compared to now, you have your cupcake business, and you started with 5 flavors, and you let people get used to these 5 flavors, and you built up a database and built up a following, built up fans. You took more pictures of your cupcakes and all these different things, but you didn't do that last time with the ice cream shop. See, because you learned more. See, you got wiser and you got more education because you learned from the failed ice cream shop, and you learn how to have a better cupcake shop. Now, that's just an example. You can put the same philosophy with anything you do. You was in one relationship and you did pretty bad with that relationship, right? So now you get to another relationship, and hopefully you got smarter. You learned some things because that relationship failed, and now you apply what you learned to this relationship, and now maybe the new person is happier than the last person, right? Not that you bad or new person better than the last person. Maybe you got smarter because of the failed marriage or the failed relationship or whatever happened may have happened. Same thing if you buy a car. You might say, I'm going to buy this car, but because you failed and they took the car back after 3 months, because you didn't have a real good job to pay, you didn't have money saved. Next time you buy a car, you may do it different. You save a little bit more money, you manage your money better because of that failed experience. This is what I'm really want to encourage you on, that failure is not that bad when you learn from it. It is horrendous when you refuse to learn from it, though, because now what it does is stop you in your tracks. Now, yeah, you had that failed ice cream shop. Now you don't want to have anything to do with business. You don't want to do a business out your home. You don't want to do a business across the street. People offer you opportunity to do a business. You don't want nothing to do with it because they'll fail ice cream shop that happened 15 years ago, right? Then you don't want to get into a relationship. Why you don't get into a relationship? Because you got divorced 15 years ago. So now you don't get into a relationship with nobody else because that last relationship you had 2 decades ago, you failed at it. So now you don't want to get into it. You don't even want to get you a car now. You want to just take the bus everywhere you go or walk because you you failed at the other car you had 10 years ago. So this is what ends up paralyzing a lot of us because of the fact that we met failure. But failure is not, again, a dead end. Failure is really like an alarm clock and said, okay, you got to do this again because you're smarter now. We get smarter if we want to learn from it. See, that's the caveat there. If you want to learn from the failure or you choose to learn from the failure, then you get smarter with it. Then you learn how to make adjustments with it, right? Now, that means that when you do it again, you utilizing the failure that you experience to help you succeed in the present day thing that you're doing. So now, if you're not succeeding in a present day thing, it's two reasons. One, you never tried anything. Two, you failed at something and don't want to try it again. Right. And that's the thing. You can't stop trying to achieve or accomplish success in something because you have failed at something else. You are now required to try it again. So you probably did better not trying at all because you never would have got all this education. Right. But that really, I'm just being a little facetious. But because you got this education, you are obviously put yourself in a position to try again. So now you get another chance to take another shot. How many shots would it take for you to get, hit your success? I don't know. You just keep every time. If you miss one, that means you got another chance to do it again. And you got another chance to make some adjustments. You got another chance to get smarter. This is what happens every time. Now, you might have to take 10 shots, 20 shots, 50 shots, 100 shots. I don't know how many times you got to take it. But the thing is because you got a chance to take another shot, that means you are required to shoot again, right? You are required to try it again. You are required to get into another relationship. You are required to open up another business. You are required to go to school and try it again, right? You are required to do that because you have failed at something, and failure just gave you all this education. See, your job is to stand on top of failure, right? And when you stand on top of failure, you will actually achieve the success that you want. But see, when failure comes into your life, it's like it dump all this stuff on top of you, right? And your job is to use that to get out of the place where you are so you can stand on top of the failure. And when you stand on top of the failure, you are now standing with success. And that's what we want to do. We want to do that in everything we do. Again, I know failure does not make you feel good. I mean, I failed at a lot of things. I've succeeded at a lot of things too, but I failed at a lot of things. And if you want to succeed, you're going to have to fail. And you're going to have to look at failure differently than what you do. And the day will come, success will get closer to you when you look at failure differently than the way you look at it if it's negative. If you start looking at failure as a way that I can actually make something happen, then you will put yourself in position to do some things better because of the failure. Because failure, again, is making mistakes, right? We all make mistakes. None of us are perfect, right? Now, I know some people try to be perfect and some people say they're perfect. I'm not trying to be perfect. So, I mean, I don't mind putting that disclaimer out there. Me and perfect, and I'm not even trying to be perfect. I'm trying to get better, right? I'm trying to get smarter. I'm trying to get wiser. Well, guess what? How do you think that happens? Failure come into your life to say, okay, you want to get smarter, huh? Yeah, okay, well, here we go. Here I am ready to teach you something. Now, when you understand that you have to utilize, see, again, I stated, once you learn from it, you have to use it. If you don't use what you learn, then you can't get what you want, right? So if you want more success in something, you want to have more success in your relationship, then you're going to have to utilize what you learned in the failed relationships. Now, here's the thing. The people that had the most relationships can learn the most stuff, right? Now, I'm not saying if you only have one relationship, you can't learn anything. But if you have one relationship for 1 week, well, yeah, you got some education. But if you had 25 relationships over the last 5 years, you should be able to learn a whole lot. For one, if you learn more, you probably wouldn't get up to 25, right? But since you got up to 25, maybe you can learn something from those 25. Because see, here's the thing, that when you're doing something, It's always something to do with you and what you're trying to do. One thing that failure is pretty good at doing is exposing our work habits, exposing our work ethic. In other words, it's exposing our effort. A lot of times we don't put a lot of effort in a lot of things, right? We fail because of a lack of effort. Because sometimes we get to this place where we trying to find shortcuts. How quickly can I get something done? Okay, I know y'all said it takes 10. Can I do it in 5? Right? I know y'all said that I need to do this for 30 minutes a day. Can I do it for like 3 minutes and it's like 30 minutes, right? So this is how we kind of look at life. So we try to take these shortcuts a lot of times because we really want success, or the things that make us look like we're success. We want that stuff bad. So this is what helps a lot of us get into financial difficulties. Because if we get this car or this house or wear this type of name brand, people are going to think that we are a success, right? Now, it doesn't take much to go into debt for 7 years to get a car, right? And it really doesn't take much because you got a job or something like that. So I've been working on my job for 6 months, a year. They give you a debt for the next 7 years on an expensive looking car. Now, again, your car note may cost more than your house note or your rent payment, right? You might actually live in the car, but you look like a success when you're driving the car, because what ends up happening, we'll do these things to try to come up with shortcuts instead of saying, you know what? How about if I just save more money? Maybe I can buy the car cash. Maybe I can pay the car off sooner. Maybe if I had 2 jobs, I can do it, right? But we don't want to do that because that don't look as good and people don't see that. And like I stated to you in session 2, your failure is building a foundation for success. Success has to sit on top of something. And what it's going to sit on top of is the failure that you experience, but you got to learn from it. And the better you get at learning from it, then the more success that you're going to meet and have. But the least you learn from it, then you can't get the success. See, some of the wisest people you will ever meet, and I'm not talking about wise because they read a few books and everything. And, I'm an advocate of books. How a lot of people, they just regurgitate things, right? So they can regurgitate what he said, what she said, what they wrote, they can regurgitate. And nothing wrong with regurgitating to make yourself feel better. But just because you regurgitate something that someone else said does not mean that you experience what they said. See, what happens is when you start working on being more successful, you can describe how bad it tastes to go through failure. You can describe the time you didn't want to quit, you didn't want to keep trying after going through failure. I remember when I first started in business, a few decades ago, right? And because, I think that I can be a success because, who wants to go through failure, right? So when I'm going through this business, man, I failed miserably. I mean, from the beginning, I kind of came out the box just falling down and failing and messing up and losing money. I mean, this thing, man, I did so poorly at it, or not say I failed so much at it that I was practically homeless. No, wait, no, not practically. I was homeless, right? You know what I'm saying? And it's not that I was homeless because I was a bad guy, wasting money and everything. No, I made some mistakes and some stuff I didn't know I was doing. I was just failing at something that I was trying to do. Well, I kind of got back on my feet a little bit and I tried it again, a few months later. Now, it's even tougher now to me. It seems like, man, how did I fail again? I failed twice. So now I'm telling myself, you know what? I'm going to bed every night crying. I ain't trying it no more. I'm going to try one more day. That's so funny now. It wasn't funny then, right? But I'm going to try one more day. I'm going to try it tomorrow, and I wake up and say, this is my last day. I'm going to try. My last day, I'm going to try this thing. And then, things may have worked out or didn't work out, but I failed at it sometime. Excuse me. So while I'm going through this thing of failing, I remember when I opened up this business, and this is a long time ago, okay? I had $100 and I bought like 5,000 business cards. They wasn't that expensive back then, but I bought like 5 boxes of 1,000 business cards a piece. And I had this great plan, and this plan was, I'm going to go out there and act like a mailman, a mail woman, and I'm going to put these, I didn't know this was illegal at the time, y'all, so please forgive me. So I'm going to go put these in their door, and all this stuff, or in their mailbox and all this stuff, right? So I'm walking around and I'm doing this thing from block to block. I had my area cut out. What I'm going to do, it's going to be pretty nice tomorrow, but I don't care if it's not going to be nice. I'm getting my business card and putting on all these doors, right? So the first day I did it, I don't know how many I did, a couple hundred and everything. Man, my legs were tired. I said, they don't have to worry about me ever applying for the post office after that, right? But my legs hurt. So then, next day I went out there and did it again, right? Now I only did it 2 days in a row, right? I am like whipped, man. Like, man, what is wrong with me? Nobody's called me yet. What's going on? Did it again for the 3rd day, right? So at this time, I probably put out maybe 1,000 business cards. Well, I'm ready. I'm done because nobody has called me. Don't they know who I am? Don't they need my services? Well, when I don't want to do it no more. I forget it. It's not going to work. Forget it. Well, what ended up happening because of that failure experience, people start calling me. They start calling me. And by the time they start calling me, I had added to my business. So I had more value to the business that I had to offer them. Well, that was monumental for me because even today, I do things by the thousands. What do I mean by that? That if I say I got a new project going on, I say I'm going to contact 1,000 people on this project. I'm going to contact 1,000 people on this book. I'm going to contact 1,000 people on this business that I have, right? Well, that came from a failure experience I had 30 years ago. It ended up developing as being part of my major part of my business, right? So that means that more people knew about, like now they know about my books, they know about things I do and my shows. That's why you hear me say, if you're new to IntellectualRadio.com or new to me on the show, then I do this recap. Now you may think I'm just doing that, but I invite a lot of people on a weekly basis that don't know me and say, listen, I got this show going on these dates at these times. You ought to check it out. It's on IntellectualRadio.com, right? So I know someone is new looking at the show. Why? Because I invited some people last week, right? And I invited people that didn't know me prior to last week. Well, that came out of my failure experience that happened early in my business career when I was going to bed crying every night. I can't make no money at this thing, right? So now when I get into a business, I'm not that surprised that if someone don't call me right away or, I put something out, they don't get with me right away because I learned, I got wisdom from my other businesses that I've done because I got success in those businesses after I realized I wasn't afraid of failure anymore. I know that some things going to go wrong. I know that sometimes I'm going to lose some money at some stuff. I know that happens sometimes. I know that sometimes I get into a relationship and say, yeah, that's the one. She the one. And then it may not work out that way, right? But that doesn't mean that, okay, don't try it again, right? That doesn't mean that. What it means is that, okay, what did you learn from that experience? Okay, what can you add to with this experience when you go into the next phase of your life? But that's the same thing it is with anything. You're going to have to actually realize that you have to utilize everything you have in that failure experience that you have because it's the greatest education you are ever going to get. I mean, yeah, I've been able to do some things on the educational side. However, the greatest education I had was all the failures that I went through. I had a lot of failures, and those failures have taught me so much that I wouldn't trade them for the world now. But at the time, man, who picking on me, right? Why? How come they don't want me to win, right? Who up there mad at me, right? Because I thought it was something to do with me all the time. Maybe because, I wasn't that nice to those people when I was 15 years old, even though I'm 40 years old at the time, right? I'm thinking that it had something to do with something that I didn't do right. Maybe because I should have studied more when I was in school. Because you're trying to find a reason why things aren't right because we got this negative connotation of failure. But once I changed my dynamic with failure, I think I was in my 30s at this time when I changed my dynamic with failure. My early 30s, I think it was, or maybe my late 20s, somewhere around there. Because I feel so much in my 20s. To me, I feel so much in my 20s that it seemed like I just had this big old line of failure. But really what I had was a lot of success. But I didn't call it success because I didn't earn $1 million yet. I didn't call it success because I didn't have a big fancy car yet. I didn't call it success because I didn't have a big old house yet. I didn't call it success because I didn't have everybody on the planet don't know me, right? Because I was equating my success with that until I started looking at failure differently and started realizing, wait a minute, I was succeeding all that time. I had to start looking back and say, wait a minute, what did you do right in those situations? It might have been 2 or 3 things. I might have did 7 things wrong, but I did something right. So here's what I always share. I even share this with my children too. Find out what you do right in something. It could be 1 thing, 2 things, 5 things. When you try to go out and do something, do those things. Make sure you do those things again. And then list what you did wrong, right? You did 5 things wrong. Now your job is trying not to do those at all. So you try to do those 2 or 3 things you did right and try to eliminate doing those 2 or 3 things you did wrong. And then you start building up this resume that you're doing more right stuff because you start learning how to make adjustments with what you had going on. Now, let me give you an example. One time I bought a car, that was years ago. And I bought a car, then I didn't have that income source anymore. I think I was in my early 20s, and I didn't have the income source anymore. So what they said, what they do when you can't pay them, right? They said, "Yo, man, we want the car back," right? Because you can't pay them, right? So even though I end up trying to scrape my money together, make sure I can keep paying it, but it caused so much stress to me, right? Like, man, how you gonna be in business because you don't know you're gonna get a check every 2 weeks and all this stuff, right? Because I had to learn how to do that too. That's a different story. But then, so I said, I'm just gonna get some money. I'm just gonna buy me a car cash, right? So I bought, I saved my little money up and bought me a car cash and got the title. But the problem was I bought a bad car, right? You know what I'm saying? The car wasn't really a good car, but you know what? It fit my budget, and that car gave me all type of trouble, right? Well, what happened is I learned how to say, okay, when cars making this type of sound, this is probably what's wrong with it because I had that problem before, right? Man, if the wheel is wobbling and wiggling and everything, look like it's about to fall off, something probably wrong with that car. Don't get that car. Well, I learned from my previous mistakes, my previous errors. I said, what did you do right? Well, one thing you did right, you got the title. So that started becoming one of my repertoires when it came to cars. Make sure you own it, right? So I started saying, okay, that's a thing I did right. I owned the car, right? Now I had to start learning how to do different things with the car. Now that may be a small example, but that's just an example of how you do everything, how you do anything you want to do in life. It can be personal, it can be business, it can be relationships with your husband or wife or significant other. It can be relationships with parents or children or whatever, right? You're trying to find this happy medium of what are you doing right. When I used to teach one of the classes I taught on wisdom, years ago, I used to tell people, I used to write on the board, right? Back in the day, they don't do all that stuff today. But, and I do it on paper too. And I did this with my children before. And I put 2 + 2 = 3. And I will ask people, what do you see up there? Right? Or what do you see on the paper? I put it right in the corner. 2 + 2 = 3. And people tell me the wrong answer. Yeah. I said, what else do you see? I see numbers. Okay, what else you see? I see a plus sign. What else you see? I see an equal sign. They have all this different stuff. I said, no, tell me what else do you see though? What else do you see? And they looking at that thing hard, right? Trying to figure it out. So then I had to always bring it to their attention. Here's what you should see: how much room you have to correct. See, what we do, we look so bad at the problem that we never look at how much room we have to correct the problem, right? Because once I get 2 + 2 = 4, yeah, 2 + 2 is 2 + 2 is not 3. That's the wrong answer. That's incorrect. 2 + 2 is 4. But once I can keep trying. 2 + 2 is 3. No, okay, I tried that last time, wasn't right. 2 + 2 is 5. No, that wasn't right. 2 + 2 is 2. No, that's not right. Eventually, I get 2 + 2 is 4. And once I get the right answer, I can write 2 + 2 is 4 on the rest of that paper, the front, the back. I can get another sheet of paper and put 2 + 2 is 4 because I know the right answer. But I couldn't get to know the right answer until I got those wrong answers. 2 + 2 is 3, 2 + 2 is 1, 2 + 2 is 7, and right. But once I got 2 + 2 is 4, I got the right answer now. And this is how you start collecting and having something to utilize, or what I call starting a success toolbox. You need a success toolbox. I need a success toolbox, right? And the way that you get a success toolbox is by utilizing what you get when you meet failure. You got to learn from the failure. So you got to meet failure because failure got all the tools. You can't get success tools from anybody else or any other source than failure. Failure got all the tools you need so that you can build a successful life. Because in order to have a successful life in anything, in order to have successful finances, in order to have successful relationships, in order to have successful health, in order to have successful spiritual life, whatever it may be, a successful career, those things are built. And anything that needs to be built need tools. Just like a carpenter. You like your own carpenter, right? You have to build you something. And every carpenter have tools. You want something built on your house and the guy say he's a carpenter, or a lady come up to you and say, yeah, I'm a carpenter. You're going to look around and say, where are your tools? Where are your tools? They say, I don't have any tools. Well, what you building, you don't have any tools. What's the same thing with people? I'm a success. I want to be a success. Well, where are your tools? What are your failure experiences that you learn from, that you're utilizing to build this success now in your life? Because you should be able to build success over and over again, even if the wind knocked your house down, even if something happened and messed up your career, even if something happened to your relationships. Once you know how to build something and utilize the tools, you should be able to build another relationship. You should be able to build another career. You should be able to build another financial income source. You should be able to build another, whatever it may be, right? Partnership. Because you have the tools, you got more tools in your success toolbox. And if you don't have any tools in your success toolbox, that means you haven't failed. And if you haven't failed, that means you haven't tried to succeed. Because all successful people have tools. And if all you have is one tool in your success toolbox, if you've seen a carpenter and all he had was a hammer, he's going to treat everything like a nail. He's going to treat a screw like a nail. He's going to treat everything like a nail. Everything's going to be banging on everything because he don't have enough tools to build. He don't have a saw. You don't have a saw, man? No, I'm just going to beat the wood with this hammer until it break apart. No, we want this thing with a smooth cut. You beating it with the hammer is not going to be a smooth cut, but all that carpenter has is one tool, which is a hammer. So he's going to treat everything like a nail. See, that's the same thing with you and I. If you don't have enough tools, you don't know what tool to use when you get in certain situations. You don't know how to use these tools because you never had the tools because you never tried. See, so when you fail, you just have to realize, some people walk around with a little toolbox, and you're very, very people that you think very, very successful that went through some stuff, they got like a bunch of toolboxes, big old toolboxes, because they got all these tools so they can build a certain type of building, build a certain type of house. They can build something in their career. This is when you see some people, sometimes you say, man, every time they do something, they go from one thing, they were success over there. Then they went over there and did something totally different, was a success over there. Then they went over there and did something different, and they were success there. And you said, man, everything they touch turned to gold. And the truth of the matter is not so much that everything they touch turned to gold. What it is, they're using the same tools to keep building success wherever they are. See, if you know how to build a house, we can take you out the city that you live in, right, or the suburb or wherever you stay. We can take you from where you are and put you somewhere else, and you'll be able to build a house right there too. You said, well, where's the forest at the woods? I need to go cut down a couple of trees, and I'm gonna build this. I'm gonna build this. I need this much square foot and put my foundation here. You know exactly what to do because you know how to build houses. Well, you don't have to build houses per se in order to be a success, but you need to know how to build success, and you do that by utilizing the things you got out of failure. But now you're gonna have to actually put some effort in. You got to work hard at what you're doing. Now, some people say, hey, man, I work smart, not hard. Okay, that's cool. I guess that's cool. But see, some people use that. They don't work at all and trying to call they smart. They not work at all. They're trying to call that smart. The reality is, in order for you to be a success, you're going to have to work hard. You're going to have to put out an enormous amount of effort. And success would always tell you, you can't put out, 5 minutes worth of effort, then you're going to get $5 million. You got to put some effort. And I know a lot of people like to hear easy. Easy. This is easy. This is why people get so caught up in scams and caught up in all this different stuff, because all you have to mention is easy and people own it. They want a part of that because they want these shortcuts. You tell people, listen, it's going to take this much to get this weight off. You have to exercise every day for 30 minutes, okay? You got to do that Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and you're going to have to drink you smoothies every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, and then you're going to have to actually do 13 jumping jacks every Sunday. What? I got to do all that? Yeah, you want to lose this weight, right? And it's going to take you 6 months to do it. Oh, that's too much time. I want to do the week program where I can, lose all the weight in like 6 days. I want the easy. And so what happens is, since people look for the easy, then they get away from putting in the effort. And if you want to be successful, you got to pay for your success by putting in the effort to achieve your success. If there's a little effort, then you're paying for a little success. You want a lot of success in something, you got to put a lot of effort in. And that's the thing that we have to realize. And that's one thing that failure comes into our life and show us. That shows, hey, man, hey, lady, you didn't put enough effort in. You need to kind of get that together, but no. See, what happens is I'm trying to look for the shortcuts. I'm trying to be smart. I'm not trying to work hard. Well, that's good, but it's not smart not to work hard. Keep that in mind. And if you want to be smart, it's going to teach you how to work hard, right? And so now, again, if you're afraid of work now, because I know, the word work is like profanity to a lot of people. I know a lot of people look at the, hey man, stop using all that profanity on there, on this show here. You use a lot of profanity. You keep saying that 4-letter word. work. And, I'm getting a little offended, right? Because people don't want to hear work, right? They don't want to hear put out this effort. They want to hear like, hey, you know what? You want to be in business? Yeah, I want to be in business. I want to quit at 5. No, man, business don't work like that. You're going to have to put something, you're going to be putting in time at 8 o'clock at night. Midnight, you're going to be up trying to do some paperwork or do some stuff that you're trying to do. Get ready for the next month, next year. You don't wait till January 1 in business to start the new year. You start that back in October, September, August. You're getting ready for the next year before the next year arrives. But see, people don't want to hear all that. See, people don't know the background to get to success, right? It's like when I used to sell real estate years ago. People didn't know how much work it took to get them to the closing table, right? They didn't know how much work it took to get the keys in their hands, right? How you have to talk to the loan officer. You got to get this with the appraiser, all the things you had to do to get this thing done, right? Because they only see the small part of the iceberg. They didn't know how you had to advertise. See, the person you sold the house, they don't know how many you had to advertise, how many people you had to show it to, how many people you had to qualify, all these different things going on. It didn't work well over here with this mortgage company. You got to take them to another mortgage company. They didn't see none of that, right? All they get to see is that I'm at the closing table today at 4 o'clock, right? They don't see all the work that it took for a month, 2 months, 3 months. Some people longer than that based on their credit and financial situations. They don't see all that. Well, see, when people come in the real estate business, they see all the money they can earn, right? But then you start telling them, listen, there's a lot of work to do this thing. Oh, well, I want the easy way. Well, 3, 4, 5 months later, you see them out the business, right? They don't last a year. And that's happening in a lot of business. A third of people coming into the business new, a third of people that was in the business out, and you might have that same third, and that don't mean all of them doing that well, right? So that's the same thing that happened in life because we're afraid of seeing the effort. And failure will show you didn't put enough effort in. You need to put more effort in to pay for that success that you're looking for and looking to have. And once you understand that, again, you will get to a place where you're not afraid of failure. You just know it's part of this thing called life. It's just part of the thing to get to success. Failure is just part of it. It's not that it's a bad thing. Failure will hand success to you. When failure falls into your lap, falls into your hands, really what it just put in your hands is success. That's why you got to use it. Failure will hand success to you. But when you running from it, you want to, if failure comes, you drop it on the floor. I don't like it. But really, it just handed success right to you. Failure is like having clothes on inside out. And once you know that, you turn the clothes right side in. Next thing you know, you have them just right. But see, if you don't know that, you'll get a pair of jeans that's inside out. You'll throw them away. I don't want them. I don't want to look the inside out. But wait a minute, if you just do a little work, and turn these things inside out, you got the success that you're looking for. But if you don't understand that, you don't grasp that type of philosophy, you don't understand that these things happen, and this is part of the scenario, so this thing can fit like a puzzle, then next thing you know, you would sit out here 10, 20, 30 years later, and all you have is a list of regrets, that you did not try to do. Why? Because you said, well, I don't want to fail at it, or I failed one time at 20. So now you're 50 years old and you haven't tried anything for 30 years. You haven't tried to get into a relationship because of what happened on prom, and you 45 now. You haven't tried another relationship because he didn't want you and she didn't want you. You haven't tried again because of that, and it's been 25 years. Come on, there's somebody else out there that would have liked you for at least a week. Now it's a joke. Somebody else would have liked you, right? You don't have to base all your present on your past failure relationships, right? Or your past failure career. Yeah, maybe you did go into a career you thought you liked. Yeah, because when 18 years old, 19 years old, when you're young, you think you want to be this. And then by the time you get in there, you're like, I don't think I want to do this, right? But you know what? You can change your mind. You can make an adjustment. There's nothing wrong with making adjustments. Adjustments are cool, especially when you're trying to succeed. Right? If success is on the agenda, you just make an adjustment and do something differently. And the better you get at doing these things, the better you get at understanding that I was already walking before I fell down. Now I just need to get back up because that's a natural thing to do when you fall down, right? I mean, failure, yeah, it looks ugly. It seems sometimes I think it's ugly, but I told you all the time, failure is the cake and success is the icing. Icing make it look real pretty, man, but it's no use having a bunch of icing without having the cake. Failure is the bed, but success is the sheets and the comforter and the pillows and everything. Make it look real pretty. See, and that's the part. We want all the pretty, but we don't want to deal with the stuff where the pretty go on. Pretty have to go on something, right? Pretty just don't just show up. Pretty got to go on top of something. And what it goes on top of is the failure that you experience, right? But you have to utilize this failure as often as possible, as many times as you can, and then you start collecting this data. Then people start saying, "Man, you're pretty wise. Hey, lady, you're pretty wise." Well, if you've seen all that failure I went through, you think you understand why I'm this wise, because I learned from all that failure, right? I did all these different things to get better, and once you start doing those things, you start putting yourself in a better position. Now, I got a little bit more on the recap, so I'm gonna promote this guy because I got a few more minutes. But I'm gonna promote this guy because I gotta put all this stuff together for you, what we talked about, because it's the last session. So let me promote this guy for those who probably missed it at the beginning. And if you want to get promoted on the show, then just get in contact with me at fullerpurposemedia@gmail.com. So I'm promoting again Mr. Emmett Farmer. Are you 65 and older or know someone who is in need of Medicare assistance? Mr. Emmett Farmer is a licensed life and health insurance producer and an independent insurance broker. He can be reached at 773-908-9425 or efarmer2, that's the number 2, efarmer2 at ameritech.net. Mr. Emmett Farmer specializes in Medicare plans for seniors 65 and older. Also, if you are disabled and have Medicare, he can help you as well. He is licensed in the state of Illinois, Texas, Kentucky, and Indiana, and also in the process of being licensed in other states in the country. And if you are 65 and older, or if you would become 65 within the next 6 to 12 months, contact Mr. Emmett Farmer to learn more about your available options. Again, for more information, contact Mr. Emmett Farmer at 773-908-9425, 773-908-9425, or efarmer2, the number 2, EFARMER, the number 2, efarmer2, at ameritech.net. You also get a free consultation by mentioning that you heard about Mr. Emmett Farmer and his business here on a Greater You show here on IntellectualRadio.com and iHeart Station, and the host, Dr. Anthony L. Gant. All right. Okay. So I did this a little bit early because I got a few more minutes, but I got to kind of put all this together, right? Because we're at the end of this series. And so I said a lot about failure, hoping you that you would look at it differently, hoping that you would think of it differently so it can help you succeed more. And one of the best lessons you'll get in life is actually understanding that failure is just a part of success, right? Again, you might want to skip some things, but failure will make sure you don't do that, right? It's going to say, no, can't skip here. You got to handle this thing here and learn from it. So when you understand that, I pretty much came up with about 7 keys on why I believe and why I live this way and think that failure is success or failure makes success. So I'm going to give you the 7 keys in a little bit better order, even though I talked about all of them in all 4, this one and other 3 sessions. But I'm going to make this really simple now. I'm going to make it much simpler than I've done it thus far. So failure is an acronym, and it's an acronym that I did for myself years ago when I started looking at failure differently than what I look at. And I said all of the words in this whole series since we started, right? I have actually said what I'm about to say now, but I'm just going to put it in order because you may not have known that I've said that, right? And I did that on purpose because I can say this at the end of the show, right? All right, so I use it as an acronym because I told you when we started the series, it was a time in my life that I felt like a real failure. I mean, a big failure. I mean, like the biggest failure on the planet. And I knew that I still wanted to do some things, and I realized I did succeed at some things, but I wanted to keep trying to do some things, and I thought that I should be bigger and do some things better as I progressed in life, right? So I couldn't just stop now. I had started on this process of trying to beat something in my life, right? And trying to do some things in my life. So I wanted to keep that up. I wanted to keep growing and trying to make that happen. So I had to come up with a way for me to start looking at failure differently than I look at it to help me succeed more than I have been succeeding so that I wouldn't be afraid of failure. So the F in failure is feedback. And you might want to write this down if you don't have anything to write with, but F is feedback. And this is why failure is not a setback from success. It's feedback for more success. You're getting the feedback, and feedback is data. You're getting data on what where you can make corrections and all these different things that you don't know, right? So that's what the F is for. So every time I got involved with failure, I knew, okay, it's giving me some feedback. It's giving me some data, some information that I need so that I can succeed. The A in failure is adjustments. Failure will always have you make adjustments. Adjustments have the root word adjust. AD means add, right? And just means near, right? So when you make an adjustment, you get nearer to something, or something is near you because you made the adjustment. So that's one thing that failure will have you do. It'll help you make adjustments. That's the A. The I is intelligent. See, I shared with you, you're not as smart as you think you are until you meet with failure, because failure will make sure you get smarter than you was. So when you get involved with failure, even though you might have been ignorant about some things, failure will make sure you're not ignorant about that anymore, because it'll help you become more intelligent, right? That's where you get your success IQ from. The L is for legitimate. See, what happened is you're not legitimate, run around and talking about fake it till you make it. Failure gonna make sure it legitimize you as a legit success. So you're gonna be the legitimate success when you meet with failure first, and then obviously when you get smarter and you learn from failure, this makes you legitimate, right? That's the L. The U is for utilize. You have to utilize what failure gave you so you can get the success that you're looking to get, right? You have to utilize all this stuff that failure taught you so you can become more successful. All right. The R is for rebound. See, success is when you hit me with failure, you have to bounce back. You have to rebound from that, and you can rebound from failure because you know how to utilize what you met through failure, and because you know you are legitimate success. And the reason why you're a legitimate success because you got more intelligent, and the reason why you're more intelligent because you made some adjustments, and you made some adjustments because you got some feedback, right? And the E is for effort. And you putting more effort in, and failure let you know you didn't have enough effort. So you say, hey, you know what, I'm putting more effort in. And the reason why I can put more effort in, because this is what's going to help me bounce back or rebound from the failure that I experienced, which means it's going to help me actually utilize the stuff that I got from the failure that I went through, which would also legitimize me as an actual success, because I got more intelligent about the failure experience I went through, because I learned how to make so many adjustments, and I made so many adjustments because I got so much feedback. That's what I use for my acronym for failure. That's why I say failure is success. That's why I say failure makes success, because all those keys, those 7 keys that I just shared with you, oh, yeah, they're in the book anyway. But those 7 keys that I share with you, those are 7 keys that I live by to keep me going at and trying something different, trying something new. And not really saying that, don't worry about it. Yeah, you might fall down and hit your face, but there's going to be feedback, right? You know how to brace yourself. It's like if you know anybody, or if you ever been involved with martial arts or anything, one thing they do, they teach you how to fall, right? And they teach you how to get up if you fall, and they teach you how to, if you fall down, how not to get beat up when you fall down, right? Because you're getting feedback, you're getting data, and you need data to be a success. You need feedback. You need to know how to make adjustments. You need to know how to become more intelligent. You need to become legit. You need to know how to utilize, and you need to know how to rebound, and you need to know how to create more effort. This has been one of my favorite topics, but I say that about every topic because it is one of my favorites. I hope you learned something from this to become more successful. I want to tell you that I do appreciate you giving me the opportunity to share with you to help you become more successful and overcome failure in your life. Use the information, look at this over and over again as often as you need to look at it to help you become more successful, and get around people that know how to become a success. And those are the same people that know how to get through failure, get from failure, get out of failure. Get around those people. So as I close, as I always do, keep in mind that great people like you were born great. However, to become a greater, you need to work on yourself. I'm sorry, to become a greater you. And I'll see you next time.